Hey, this is Dave Custom with Content Bacon, one of the co-founders, and today we're going to be talking to one of our favorite customers, one of my good friends, someone that I go to on a regular basis when I need to know or want to know what's going on. That's Ken Morris of Morris Southeast Group, commercial real estate advisory, sage, go-to guy, again, for me and my business. When there's things that I want to know about, both in commercial real estate, because commercial real estate is often an indicator of the economy in a much broader sense. So we're going to talk to Ken today, ask a couple of questions and see what those lead to about what Ken's customers, prospects, clients, what they need to know right now, because right now is an interesting time. So Ken, why don't you say hello to everyone and just talk a little bit about what's right now that people need to be thinking about.
Well, hello, Dave. Thank you for the introduction, and also thank you for all the great work you do for our company and our long-standing friendship. And you're certainly on my board of advisors when it comes to business and communications. You know, we're in an unprecedented time. Everybody says that, but you know, as it relates to commercial real estate, most of my clients, whether they be landlords or sellers or tenants or buyers, everybody is somewhat generally in a freak out mode because they're hearing lots of things. The good news is that the stimulus package was passed last night. Nobody really knows 100% what's in it and how much free money might be in the system for small business. Many of my clients are in that small to medium bandwidth in their markets. So any assistance on the small business side will certainly be helpful. The first question that everybody wants to deal with is cash flow, and as it relates to their business. And that would be rental payments or mortgage payments. And landlords want to know whether their tenants are going to pay rent. So in the grand scheme of things, I think we're going to be in for some choppy water over the next 90 to 120 days. And a lot of tenants are not going to pay their rent. And a lot of landlords are going to have to go to their lenders and talk about getting some kind of loan deferment or some assistance. Now, the federal government is telling the lending community, you got to play ball. And since they're going to be getting a piece of the pie on the federal level, hopefully this time around, not like 10, 12 years ago when they weren't playing ball, this time will be different. So if you're a tenant in a retail center or you're a tenant in an office building and you have an issue related to paying your rent because you want to pay your employees, but you can't pay both, I would recommend contacting your landlord and asking them for some kind of rent deferment or paying just the operating expense portion of their rent, 50% rent, something. Landlords would be more amenable to working out a deal if you give them something. With that said, a smart landlord today is going to recognize that the court system is really not up and running to the extent that it's going to move even through perfectly normal times. A commercial litigation or moving through the system to evict a tenant takes at least 60 days, maybe longer. In this time period, you know, it's going to be really hard for a judge to toss somebody out of a space. So if you're a restaurateur or you own a nail salon or you're a small business insurance, you know, and you're having a hard time paying the rent and your employees at the same time, be upfront, go to your landlord, ask them what they can do for you, and then make some decisions from there. On the landlord side, I would say, first question is how many of my tenants are going to pay and for how long? And given the fact that we generally have the idea that the court system is not going to be that aggressive right now, why not adapt a cooperative position where we can all help each other out? Contact your lender, say, listen, I'm not going to have rent flowing for the next few months. What can you do for me on my mortgage payments? And everybody can work together. And I think that's how we're going to see this through on the commercial real estate side. One of the big things that everybody's going to look at in their insurance policies is the force majeure, the act of God clause. it may or may not be something that can be drawn on. You may not be able to go on that act of God or use that in this instance. It depends on how the insurance policy is structured and written, and the insurance community like taking premiums, but they're uncomfortable with, paying out. So that will be a push and pull process. I have many clients that are lawyers that get out of bed and smiling and, jumping around, very excited, because they know for the next 5 to 10 years, there's going to be a lot of force majeure litigation going on. So, but if you have a business interruption policy for your company, or you're a landlord and you have business interruption or rent interruption, clause in the insurance, you need to talk with your insurance agent, and you need to pull those policies out, give them a deep read, and then make some decisions from there.
So thank you for that, Ken. You probably have, you have a couple different, let's call it audiences right now. one of which is a group that was probably on the five-yard line, or maybe even goal line of signing a lease. They probably pulled back. What's your advice? What's your message to that audience, to that group? This is going to end at some point. This is going to be over at some point. So do they continue with whatever business plan they had? What would you like for them to know? What would you like to reassure them about right now?
Well, the truth is I do have several deals that have made it to the half-yard line and then decided to not go any further. Pens have been put down all over the marketplace that we're about to ink deals. That is, part of the norm in this environment. Uncertainty and fear go hand in hand, and most companies are concerned about their cash flow over the next 3 to 6 months and what that looks like, and whether they're still going to be in business from an existential survival standpoint. So yeah, we're going to make it through. I have family members that are in the infectious disease care world, and they believe that we're going to make it through. The numbers are going to peak probably in the next 5 to 6 weeks, and then we'll start to see things down and life will get somewhat back to normal. Commerce never stops. The pressure of people needing to buy goods and services are not going to go away. Yes, the second quarter is going to be very rough, and that might bleed into the third quarter. However, at the end of the day, if you have a solid business and a solid business plan, chances are moving forward at some point in the next few months makes a lot of sense, because there's a lot of other people in your sector and in your market, in your industry, that are doing the same thing, that are getting ready to hit the ground running. Yeah. Now,
okay. Yep.
There's just a lot of, thoughts on renegotiation. Can I get a better deal? Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Depends on the market, depends on what kind of landlord it is, what kind of property type, retail versus industrial versus multifamily. It all depends. If you're a multifamily owner, you're worried about paying your mortgage and you're worried about your tenants paying your rent. You're not going to be able to toss them out in the short run. So, these are the kind of things. Do you go out and buy multifamily buildings right now? Well, that depends. The debt markets are going to get less expensive. The government is putting a tremendous amount of liquidity into the banking system. So if you're out there looking to buy a piece of property, whether it's owner user or investment, now's a pretty good time to be looking. And deal velocity is definitely slowing down. No doubt about it.
Yeah. What about, there's that group that was, as you say, they put the pen down. And there's another group behind them, perhaps, and maybe it's a little too early to talk about it yet. But there's a group behind them that were maybe beyond thinking about their next move. They were perhaps in the midst of it, maybe not, maybe they hadn't engaged you yet, or they initially engaged you. And so what should they be thinking about? I mean, I think what resonated for me in your last answer was, can I get a better deal? And I think for me, if I were in the midst of looking at a property or making a deal, I was at the goal line. This event, while unfortunate, seems like a great opportunity to renegotiate, to get a better deal. It's like it's on sale now. What are your thoughts on that?
It potentially, yes. But it is also not, commercial real estate, we're not selling horses, we're not selling Rolexes. These are long lead, relationship driven deals. And generally a lease is going to be a 5 to 7 or 10-year lease term. It takes time for the commercial real estate market, meaning the landlords and the sellers, to catch up with market metrics, and the lending community matter. So even though federal funds rate is down to, from 0 to a quarter point, you can't go to the bank and get a loan at a 0 to a quarter point. Okay. The loan rates are going to continue to fall, and they will fall through May and June, and probably, a little bit further onward. Yeah. Now's a good time if you want to push against the deal that you have to see if you can make a better deal. It never hurts to ask. And sometimes you don't know, and most of the time we don't know what the pressure point is for the people on the other side of the table. There is a tremendous amount of liquidity out there that's been sitting on the sidelines looking for deals. And the market has been wickedly overpriced, in my opinion, for the last several years. And there's been a disconnect between price and value. So do I think there's going to be an adjustment? Yeah, I think so. But the counterweight or counterbalancing weight to that is really the lowering of interest rates. So the lower the interest rates go, the more the sellers can push to hold their pricing. I still think there's going to be some deals. I think there's going to be some weakness, ongoing weakness in the retail sector. Many of the nail salons and restaurants and small operators may not make it, and they may not reopen, which is going to spike the vacancy rate in that sector. On the office side, a lot of companies are working virtual, and they have been working virtual, but they still had a physical footprint. And now that physical footprint, is much, much smaller. Or they're going to realize, hey, I don't need 7,000 square feet. I can work in 2,000 square feet. So I think the office market there is going to be affected. And I think that, it's too early to tell in that world. But I would, if you're about to do a deal on the buyer or tenant side, now it's a pretty good time to test the waters, to see if you can do something. With that said, don't be surprised if you said, hey, we're not in a position to do anything, because they might not be. They may not be in a position because their basis in the property is such that they can't go any lower than where they are now.
Yeah. Okay, perhaps the last group to talk about, you touched on these folks before, the property owners, the folks that have the inventory. What should they be thinking about now? What do they need to know now? What should they be focused on?
Great question. I represent lots of property owners, and my recommendation to them, to existing clients and previous clients, I keep in touch with everybody, is say, I think at this stage you have to adopt a very cooperative tone, because you're in the woods already, hunting for your ball. All right. It's gone off the fairway and you're looking, and I would rather you take the stance that, okay, we're in this together, Mr. or Ms. Tenant, we're here for you. So here's the solution. We know you can't make the rent or the full rent for the next 3 months. How about if we cut it in half, or we cut it in third, and we tack that time and that rent onto the tail end of the lease? Some of the tenants are still not going to make it. They're still going to walk and they're going to go, but there's nothing you could have done about it anyways. And we're not in a position, like I said earlier, in the court system, there's really not an active court system right now that even if you wanted to get them out. So, there's multiple dominoes that are tied to the landlord, to the property owners. If the tenants aren't paying the rent, then the landlords and property owners can't pay their mortgage. Then the lenders have to make a decision whether they want to foreclose. And then tied into all of it is the insurance market. So there's multiple dominoes that are going to, that, if it's not handled properly, will fall together. And I think that, like I said earlier, the lending community, the bankers have been told by the government, you need to play ball. And I think open communication with your tenants. I've had several tenants contact me already in my portfolio to say, we can't pay the rent, or what can you, we're proposing paying a portion of it. And, I'm going to my, to the landlords that I represent in those properties to say, this is my recommendation. And I think if you do it in the right way, you look like a hero. Ultimately, everybody, makes it through this difficult time period. And again, every day that we get online or we get our news from CNN or Fox or Twitter, it doesn't matter. We get a wheelbarrow dump of news that sometimes is good, sometimes it's bad, and sometimes you don't know which way to go. And, but I don't think this is the end of the world. I think this is just an unfortunate event. And I think it's showing where the pressure points are in our own businesses, as well as the United States economy and society at large. And going to give us an opportunity to start fixing what's broken.
Yeah, agree. Well said. So I think we'll wrap it up there. I think next conversation might be a good opportunity to talk about the bankers, the insurance folks, and that side of the equation, if you will, and what they should be thinking about, planning for, and what they're dealing with right now. Maybe they don't even know. Some of them may not even know what they're dealing with or what's going to be coming. So if anyone who's listening wants to reach out to Ken, we'll include his information on any page that you're seeing this, or any email that this is going to go out in. Ken is, I don't want to speak for Ken, but I think Ken is happy to have any conversation with anyone.
Absolutely. I'm very pleased to act as a sounding board, no matter what your circumstances are. I'm having those conversations on a regular basis with many of my clients and a lot of people that aren't my clients, but I'm delighted to help because that's what I'm here for. We're advisors. Feel free to call me on my cell, 954-240-4400, or shoot me an email, and that information will be posted, and I'll do what I can to help you make the best decision possible for your business and where you are right now. Terrific. Ken, thank you for that. And look out for the next Ken and Dave show. I can't wait. All right. Thanks, Ken. Have a great day. And if you were sitting in my office with me, I'd give you a hug, but I can't right now. I would love to give you a big hug too. Thank you. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care.